Hello wonderful person, this is Anton, and what you're looking at are galaxies. As a matter of fact, every little dot you see on the screen right now is a tiny galaxy really far away. And these three galaxies are actually also pretty far from us at a distance of about 12 to 13 million light years. Now these two galaxies are actually something I'm going to cover in another video, or may have already covered, and you can probably find the link for this particular video somewhere above me. But today we're going to be talking about some of the most incredibly looking and also some of the most mysterious galaxies out there. In no particular order and also without really any specific reason. So we're just going to take a look at some of the most fantastic galaxies. Let's start with the first one that's actually right there in the back. This right here. This is a galaxy known as M82, also known as the Cigar Galaxy. Now, why is it called Cigar? Well, actually, that's a good question, but it's probably because it actually has this very interesting, very unusual shape if you look at it from the side. These red lights that you see coming out of it, as I described in one of the previous videos, is actually hydrogen. It's hydrogen coming out of it because of the tremendous amount of supernova that this galaxy experienced. It's not because of the black hole, it's actually literally stars exploding and leaking their material and creating this very beautiful shape. If you were to look at it with a very powerful telescope, like for example, if you were to look at the pictures taken by Hubble, you would see something that looks like this. And this is actually the hydrogen coming out of the galaxy. So that's the first galaxy on the list. Let's go to the next one. And we can't really not talk about this galaxy because of the sheer size and the sheer mass. This is the largest galaxy we've discovered so far, IC 1101. This galaxy is so big, as a matter of fact, that if I were to kind of zoom out here just to show you some of the other tiny galaxies next to it, you would see that this is a tremendously large giant. This thing here is basically like 50 times bigger in size than our own Milky Way. And we don't really know why. We don't really know how it got so big. As a matter of fact, all of the creation of the universe theories cannot really explain how this galaxy got so big so fast. And it doesn't really have any specific shape other than elliptical shape, so it's called an elliptical galaxy. And it just so happens that it's also the biggest galaxy in the universe, at least as of 2019. And then we have this. This is called the Whirlpool Galaxy, because it does kind of look like a whirlpool. But unusually, it also is pretty much connected to another smaller galaxy that you see right there. And this is actually, let me just try to come closer to it, NGC 5195. Now, these two galaxies actually have a very interesting interaction, and specifically, this here, the smaller galaxy, is actually stretching the bigger galaxy. And so the real photo of this system kind of looks like this. And so you can kind of see that it actually is almost sucking out a part of this larger galaxy and is turning it into a very stretched shape. And interestingly, this is actually one of the most well-studied interaction of galaxies, and is usually the first that astronomers use as a kind of example of colliding or interacting galaxies. This galaxy is also very active. It has an extremely active core, so it's technically known as a Seyfert-2 galaxy, and essentially a galaxy whose black hole is producing a lot of energy. And on top of all of this, you can actually see this beautiful galaxy with binoculars. As long as you're in a dark enough space, you can actually see this even without a telescope. And then we have this. This is NGC 5793. It's an extremely beautiful galaxy, but it's also very unusual for a simple reason. It's producing something known as masers. Now, you might be familiar with lasers. It's kind of like that, except that instead of visual light, it produces microwave light. So it's kind of like microwave lasers. And the way that these masers are produced is essentially through the interaction of extremely powerful light coming out of the center of the galaxy with a variety of gases that you see right here in this darker ring. And as this energy interacts with the gas, it reflects the microwave light, but it interacts with it in such a way that it produces a laser-like effect with a very straight and very powerful radiation that can then be detected from planet Earth. So this is basically a maser galaxy. Not really a laser, but still really cool. And this next galaxy is even creepier. This is actually known as the Black Eye Galaxy, also known as the Sleeping Beauty Galaxy. And even though they do look kind of similar, they are actually quite different. What is really unique about the Black Eye Galaxy, that literally looks like a black eye, and actually the real photo of it is right here on the screen. What's really unique about it is that it seems to have stars that are close to the center, orbiting in one direction, but the stars on the outskirts go in the opposite direction. And that's very unusual and not really well understood. It also has quite a lot of hydrogen, suggesting quite a lot of star creation, and once again has a very active galactic nuclei, producing quite a lot of energy. So once again, a very unique, very unusual, and somewhat mysterious but also beautiful looking galaxy known as the Black Eye. Now the next pair of galaxies doesn't actually look that cool in Space Engine, at least not as realistic as in real life, but if you were to look at the photo of this pair of galaxies, you would see something that looks like this. And can you guess what it's actually called? Well, this kind of looks like a dolphin, so it's called a dolphin or a porpoise galaxy. And interestingly, the reason this shape is even formed is once again because of this smaller elliptical galaxy that stretched the porpoise and created this unusual shape. And the eye of the dolphin is actually the supermassive black hole. How cool is that? So this is yet another galaxy pair that interacts with one another and has actually been studied quite extensively by the scientists. But all of these galaxies are pretty far away. Let's go a little bit closer to home. This right here is the galaxy I've covered on the channel previously, the really awesome galaxy known as Centaurus A. Centaurus A is one of the most active galaxies very close to us, and unusually it's the only elliptical galaxy, essentially a galaxy that has elliptical shape, that also seems to have spiral arms. So we think that this is actually two galaxies combined. It's a larger galaxy that swallowed a small galaxy. And it also now has this very beautiful astrophysical jet protrusion from both sides that's formed by the very active black hole in the middle. So all in all, this is a very unique, very beautiful, and very active galaxy that's not that far away from us. As a matter of fact, this galaxy is quite visible if you have powerful binoculars or basically a telescope. So you can definitely see this, although only from the southern hemisphere. So if you've been planning to go to South America or Australia or New Zealand, maybe that's actually a good reason to go. So you can actually see this galaxy in the skies. And then we have this unusual galaxy known as the Sombrero Galaxy. It's called Sombrero because it actually does sort of resemble a sombrero. Although I think more so on this photo right here taken by Hubble. Now, what is really unique about this particular galaxy, except of course for the fact that it does have a hat-like shape, is that it has a very, very unusual and very thick dust lane right here. Essentially dust ring around itself that produces a very cool and very unique effect that a lot of other galaxies don't seem to have. It's also extremely bright and it's also very, very powerful, but a lot of this brightness is formed by actual star clusters. It's not from the black hole, it's from a collection of star clusters that we can possibly see if we fly a little bit closer to the galaxy in Space Engine. You're going to start seeing these clusters as I come closer and closer to the center. So it's actually hundreds and hundreds of star clusters producing a tremendous amount of light. And the last galaxy I wanted to mention is this right here. This is Higgs object. This is actually probably one of the most famous unusual galaxies out there because of the way that it's shaped. These are called ring galaxies and they're actually quite rare. And more recently we even discovered an even rarer type of a ring galaxy. I've talked about this in one of the previous videos you can find somewhere above. But what is really cool about this particular galaxy is that it has really young blue stars on the outskirts, and then it has really old red stars on the inside. But then in between these stars is an empty dust ring. And we don't really know why these galaxies have this because we don't really know how they form. There's a few of these we've discovered so far, and some of them even have unusual shapes, not just rings. But for the most part, their creation and their origin is still unknown to us. And this is also one of the most realistically represented galaxies in Space Engine, because if you were to look at the real photo, this is kind of what it looks like. And it's actually very similar to what Space Engine is able to create as well. And so you can use Space Engine to go and explore this galaxy and maybe even discover something really cool on the inside. Now, all in all, that's actually all I wanted to talk about. Obviously, there's a lot of other galaxies I didn't cover and a lot of other mysterious and unusual objects that I didn't talk about. Like, for example, galaxies that actually are almost entirely made up of dark matter. Like, for example, the galaxy right here, known as Dragonfly 44, is practically invisible because it's practically all dark matter. But because there's nothing to actually see or to look at, that's why I didn't really want to mention it or to try to include it as part of the list, and wanted to just mention it at the end. All in all though, that's kind of all I wanted to do in this particular video, and in one of the future videos we're going to come back and talk about some other unusual, mysterious and absolutely fascinating, gorgeous galaxies. On that note, thank you for watching, please subscribe if you still haven't, share this video with someone who enjoys learning about space through simulations and video games, and come back tomorrow to possibly learn something else you didn't know. Also, maybe consider supporting this channel on Patreon because it does help me quite a lot. Space out, and as always, bye bye.